Ember Witch. Book 1. The Lich. Volume 1. Black Tragedy. Chapter 4. Black Tragedy. September 19, 459 BME to October 31, 461 BME. Fragment 49. The Gathering.
Cress.
Neela called out as she caught up with her.
What?
Cress replied in a tone close to anger.
Are you all right?
Neela asked and Cress looked away from her.
I'm fine.
Cress replied, then kept walking towards their tent.
You impressed Lord Darrow with that fight. I knew you would win,
Neela said, and they walked together.
Oh, that's great. I impressed the great Lord Darrow. I bet now he will display my pelt at his feet instead of on a spike outside of camp.
Cress replied with sarcasm. Neela frowned, then stopped Cress.
I know that you don't like it here, but that doesn't mean you have to get upset with me,
Neela said, and Cress clenched her fists.
You don't fucking understand. Don't act like you understand what I feel.
Cress screamed out and Neela pushed her into their tent.
Don't you dare scream at me. You have no idea how hard I have been trying to keep you alive here. I want nothing more than to get out of here, but we can't fight each other. We have to stand together,
Neela replied, and Cress swung her fist at Neela, who stepped aside and grabbed her arm. She flipped Cress onto the ground, then laid on top of her.
I don't want to fight you, Cress,
Neela said as Cress raged under her weight.
Get the fuck off of me,
Cress said, and Neela pushed herself closer to Cress.
I love you,
Neela said, then began to tear up. Cress looked up to her, seeing the pain in Neela's eyes as tears streamed down her face.
Neela,
Cress said in a worried tone. Neela fell forward as Cress embraced her in a hug.
I'm so sorry, Neela,
Cress said as they held each other. They had made it to the gathering campsite only 3 days ago, and Cress had gotten into a fight, threw a punch at Neela, and cried harder than she had in a long time. They lay together embraced in a display of nudity. After they had finished crying, they had fucked to vent their frustration and anger. Despite still being bruised from her fight only an hour before, Cress had pushed aside the pain.
I'm sorry I snapped at you,
Cress said, and Neela turned to her.
It's okay, Cress,
Neela replied, then ran her hand across Cress's stomach. Cress giggled as Neela tickled her, then she leaned forward and kissed her. They stayed like that for some time before a large amount of noise sounded out from the camp. They sat up as yelling and other intense sounds rang out across the camp. Both Neela and Cress shot out of bed and threw on their clothes. They rushed out of the tent to see what was going on. A horde of Orcyn roughly the same size as the Broken Fang were circling their camp on camels, shouting and whooping as if they were offended. They had been the first clan to arrive, which seemed to anger this other tribe. Lord Darrow stepped out of his tent, then flashed his color. A jet of neon purple fire shot up into the sky, and the circling tribe drew blades and shouted. A man the same size as Lord Darrow stepped off of his camel, then walked through the camp to Lord Darrow. They turned around and entered Darrow's tent. Around the camp, the tribe of newcomers dismounted from their camels and began unpacking their tents. Neela and Cress looked around them in hopes that they could spot an elven amongst the newcomers, but couldn't see anyone who resembled any of the 3 races of elves. They shrugged, then began walking amongst the crowd. After circling back around to their tent, they gave up on their search, knowing that the Ashlanders hadn't been the ones who had just arrived. They entered their tent and sat down to keep out of the sun. They had so much hope that their job was almost finished, but with the newest tribe to arrive, they now had to wait for the next several days. After 20 minutes of meditation, Lord Darrow entered their tent holding a scorpion tail out to Neela.
The gathering begins. Come, both of you,
he said, and Neela grabbed the tail. Neela broke it in half, then handed one to Cress.
Eat it,
Lord Darrow said, and both Neela and Cress placed it in their mouths. As they chewed, a high began to wash over them. Darrow smiled and turned around.
follow me,
he said, then walked out of the tent. Neela stood up with a wobble, then helped Cress stand. They exited the tent and followed Lord Darrow to the center of the camp where a large fire pit had been constructed the day they had arrived.
Sit.
Lord Darrow demanded, and Neela and Cress sat down next to him on a small platform that had been constructed that morning. Lord Darrow flashed his color again, and a mass group of Orcyn began gathering around the fire pit.
Let the gathering begin,
Darrow yelled out and cast a massive ball of neon purple fire into the fire pit. The wood burst into flames as the horde of Orcyn began cheering. Neela and Cress began to feel like their bodies were on fire. They began panting and sweating.
You have never seen a gathering, have you?
Darrow asked, and Neela shook her head.
This is a time of great celebration. Once every 6 years we come together and share in the gifts of life. 6 days of celebration where we give our thanks to Della. After we party, we then test the strength of our bravest warriors. You will participate in everything, you will dance, drink, fuck and fight until the gathering is over or you die,
Darrow said as he looked out to the mass of Orcyn laughing and drinking.
What about the Elven?
Cress asked, and Darrow looked over to her.
Fuck the Elven. Lord Nassim has informed me that the Ashlanders are on their way. You will have your kill,
he replied, then looked back to his people. Cress looked over the crowd as the poison raged through her body. The feeling of inner heat pressed against her, and she swallowed hard. Neela began fanning herself off with her hand, and Darrow laughed.
The best part has yet to come,
he said, then grabbed a horn of ale from a woman that had approached him. He took a deep drink as Neela and Cress began squirming. The sun had gone down, and a group of Orcyn had begun playing instruments and sang a song of battle. Both Neela and Cress had been having near-orgasmic feelings for hours as the poison ran through their systems. Lord Darrow stood up after the group had finished singing and flashed his color.
My friends, we have been blessed by Della with a life of hardships. The great God has given us the strength to survive the desert environment. Let us celebrate with a dance,
he yelled out, then gestured towards Neela and Cress, who were in ecstasy.
The Fire Ender Morden has sent 2 of her greatest assassins to perform for us,
he said, and lifted Neela from the ground. The horde cheered in drunken pleasure as Darrow lifted Neela's shirt from her body. He threw the shirt to the ground, then whispered in her ear. As soon as he spoke, Neela began dancing. The Orcyn holding instruments began playing as Neela spun around in a trance. Darrow lifted Cress from the ground and walked her forward.
This Fire End, however, is a shim. What should we do with this one?
he asked, and the crowd laughed and shouted.
I have seen him fight, and I say if he can fight like a man, then he surely can't dance like a woman,
he said, then again spoke into her ear. Cress's face went stiff as if she was attempting to fight against something, but only moments later she joined Neela in her dance. Darrow laughed, then grabbed another horn of ale.
The shim can dance, what do you know?
he yelled out as Cress and Neela twisted their bodies against each other. Cress felt hot, so hot. She wanted to let go of everything. She pressed herself against Neela, who had begun to roll her eyes back in pleasure.
These are my champions,
Darrow yelled out and watched as Neela and Cress began kissing. The crowd screamed in excitement. Neela opened her eyes to see Lord Darrow sitting on his bedroll, cleaning his fingers with a knife. She sat up and felt the cold morning air against her naked body.
You have talent, girl,
he said, and Neela covered her breasts.
You raped me?
She asked in anger.
Of course not. You gave in to your desire on your own,
he said, then looked across the tent to Cress, who was still sleeping naked on the ground.
The shim was a hit last night,
he said, and Neela rushed over to her.
Cress, wake up.
Neela called out, and Cress rolled over.
What the fuck happened?
Cress asked as she sat up.
You have my respect, shim. It's not often that a person like you can best an Orcyn and give the entire gathering a show worth repeating,
Darrow said, and Cress shot him a look.
What did you do to us?
She asked, and he looked up from his fingers.
I did nothing. You made the choice,
he said, and Cress bared her teeth.
You dragged us.
She yelled out, and Darrow laughed.
Is that what you call it?
He asked, and Neela looked over to him.
We are not here to party. We were sent here to kill the Elven and return to the Heartland,
Neela said, and Darrow shrugged.
This is the way of the Orcyn. You will celebrate until the tournament or you will die,
he said, and Cress stood up.
So we are supposed to take that drug, dance and fuck each other for your enjoyment, or you will kill us? Are you fucking kidding me? I will not be your fuck toy.
She screamed, then pulled her collar around herself. Darrow smiled, then looked to Neela.
He's got fight left in him, that's good,
he said, and Cress gathered her energy.
Cress.
Neela yelled out and stepped in front of her.
We have no choice. Drop your color, please,
she said, and Cress calmed down.
You are fucking sick,
Cress said, and Darrow stood up.
You have 5 days left. I can give you the choice of death or pleasure. What do you choose?
He asked, then pulled out another scorpion tail from his pocket. Neela turned around and bowed to him. She took the tail and broke it in half, then handed one part to Cress.
I apologize, my lord,
Neela said, then ate the tail. Cress clenched her fist, then downed the tail, just as she did the day before. Darrow smiled, then pulled another tail from his pocket and did the same.
You are not alone, this is the way,
he said, then walked them both from his tent. They once again woke up laying in Darrow's tent. They had been snuggled up together, and Darrow simply nodded to them. Cress sat up and rubbed her head.
2 more tribes arrived yesterday. Neither of them were the Ashlanders. No sign of the Elven either. It seems like your hunch was correct,
Darrow said, and Neela stood up.
I assume that the Elven is keeping them from arriving until the last moment. If they are to make their move against you, they would do it when you are the most occupied. Please, Lord Darrow, let us go,
Neela protested, and Darrow laughed.
There is no stopping the gathering,
he said, and tossed a tail at her. She frowned, then took her dose, handing the other half to Cress. Darrow ate his, and the 3 of them exited the tent. As they approached the fire pit, the crowd cheered and made sexually charged gestures towards them. Darrow grabbed Neela's breast and laughed. Cress and Neela danced naked in a drugged-out trance as the Orcyn sang and drank. Their minds were blank, besides, for thoughts of pleasure and sex. Once more, they woke up and Darrow tossed them a tail.
The last tribes arrived during your performance, everyone but the Ashlanders. Still no sign of your elf,
he said, then ate his tail. Neela held her arms across her body in agony as the thought of being used washed over her. Cress stepped forward and grabbed her hand. They both began crying as they ate the tail and let the high take their minds once again. They walked out of the tent knowing exactly what they had to do. They came to the fire and waited for the sun to set as different groups of Orcyn told stories and drank themselves into incoherence. Once again the sun set and they began their dance. Neela wrapped her arms around Cress, kissing her deeply as Cress thrust her hips into her. They had no thoughts running through their minds as countless Orcyn laughed, cheered, and clapped at the show. Across the desert, Telrin sat on his camel, observing the mass of Orcyn celebrating themselves into oblivion. He turned to Lord Zine and she nodded. He pulled his collar around himself, then concentrated as he felt 3,000 mages do the same. They pushed their color out into the sky, and in an explosion of light the sky lit up in a hurricane of fire and arrows that began raining down upon the gathering. Zine sat upon her camel, just watching the orgy of bodies begin to scream and flee in panic.